Today we're going to look at SD 50.8, the Mara Deya Sutta, the discourse on Mara's realm. This is from the Itivuttaka, IT 3.1.10. The theme is the nature of Mara in terms of existence. It's a very short sutta, so let me talk a bit about Mara in our daily life as a practicing Buddhist. Every religion has got what is called a mythology of evil, or mythology of bad, if you like. Even the word bad and evil has got some significant differences. Scholars of religion who are familiar with theistic religions in the West, especially with the colonial religions, advise us not to use the word evil for Buddhism, because there's no such concept. Evil is very similar or overlaps with the idea of sin in the God religions of Christianity. Of course, where possible, it's better to use bad for papa in the in Buddhist ethics and teachings. But since we are using English, it is not always easy to kind of there are certain contexts, certain syntax where it is quite difficult. It's not very idiomatic to use evil. So we can follow the Humpty Dumpty's rule here. In other words, the word evil is just a word. It's not as bad as the word sin, for example. The word sin is very specialized, and it is used in a particular religion, whereas evil is more universal, if you like. So when we use that word, especially in a non-theistic situation, we remind ourselves that it has the same sense or very similar sense as bad, or it doesn't have the theistic sense because we don't accept the theistic sense. So this is where we apply the teaching of anatta, non-self. In other words, if we imagine words to be containers of meanings, the container only holds what we put into it. So we should empty it of its previous baggage, if you like, and we put in the Buddhist idea, the Buddhist content into this package, into this container called a word. A word, after all, is how we use it. A word has not all words have fixed meanings. So we have to kind of reflect, okay, what does this word mean to me? Of course, there are certain words which are very clear, very unique to Buddhism. Words like Buddha, Arhat, we see them as unique to Buddhism today, but there was a time when they were also, in a sense, universal in India. The word Buddha, for example, simply means someone who understands. And today we also say it refers to as someone who is awakened to true reality. And the word Arhat too is a term, it's a universal term in Buddha's time, referring to the kind of saints defined by the various religions. In Jainism you have that word too, and also of course in early Buddhism. So we have to define our terms, in other words. So similarly, when we talk of evil, when we say Mara is the evil one, that's what we mean. and we can explain this. Okay, what does it entail? Well, when we say Mara is the evil one, we're talking about the Buddhist mythology, or the Buddhist, I prefer the word psychology of evil, because we're talking about the mind, or if you like, the heart here. Yes, we have the story of Mara Devaputra, Mara the deity appearing to the Buddha and trying to distract the Buddha, trying to stop him from renouncing the world and so on. There's a very fascinating Buddhist mythology there. I have addressed this idea of Mara as mythology in SD 52.1, which is on the miraculous life of Gautama Buddha. This volume, which is just completed, deals with all the meanings of the miraculous stories from the time of the Bodhisattva penultimate birth into Sutta to his awakening. So you can read up that article, or that essay actually, in SD 52.1. I've yet to write another essay, kind of dedicated essay on Mara, so that will come a little later, I think probably volume 64, I think. So for today, we briefly look at Mara as something that distracts us from doing good, when our mind is not able to keep to the training. In fact, this sutta defines Mara in just that way. So let's look at this sutta as a very short definition here. Of course, there are quite a few pages, about 10 pages of introduction, which you can read for more information. Page 73, the discourse on Mara's realm, IT 3.1.10. This was indeed spoken by the Blessed One, spoken by the Arhat, thus have I heard. Bhikshus accomplish in these three things among transcends Mara's realm, shining radiantly like the sun. Okay, so Mara's realm, Maradeya. We can say realm, we can say Mara's power, if you like. So here the word realm is helpful because it refers to existence as a whole, all the three realms, the sense world, the form world, and the formless world. So here, clearly, Mara has power over our senses, so definitely Mara's power is greatest in the sense world, so to speak. In other words, we are easily distracted by our senses because we have to process what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and think. And that is quite difficult for us because we get dissipated so easily. So we need to focus our mind. In a sense, we can say the opposite of Mara is this focus of the mind, if you like. Now, Mara also has power over the form world. Although Mara doesn't reside there, Mara resides among the gods who delight in the creation, who delight in creating. Apara, Nimitta, Vasavat. It's the realm just below that. Nimana, it's in the realm of Nimana, Rati, Devas. So he's one of the gods there, in other words, a kind of renegade angel, if you like. Remember, all this is mythology. It explains something going on in our minds. Although Mara resides in that realm, he is somehow connected with all the other realms. In other words, it's like an emperor. Imagine an emperor in the Chinese Empire. You have this emperor in the capital. It can be Beijing or some other capital that the emperor has chosen. So his power is greatest in the capital and the areas nearby. That's the sense world. And of course, in the suburbs, it's also very powerful. You can quickly go to those areas. But if you go to the borderlands, its power is much weaker. As they say, the emperor is in the capital and is far away, so people don't really bother very much unless his representatives come. Now, who are or what are his representatives? So here we can say they are our senses. So as long as those beings in the form world, for example, they somehow use the mind. The mind is a sense, according to Buddhist psychology. Mara will access them. Mara reaches up to them. In other words, they still are under the power of ignorance, and there is some craving there. Then, what would the formless world? Again, the formless world is impermanent. When those beings they enjoy the peacefulness of the formlessness, their karma ends and they fall back into the power of Mara. So in that sense, Mara still has a hold over them, like the emperor's power reaching out to the borderlands. So as long as we have not attained any level of awakening, Mara's power is over us. So this is where the sutta continues and tells us how is that. So in the next section, then the Buddha goes on to say, what are the three? Here bhikshus among is accomplished in the non-learner's moral virtue. Notice, non-learner's moral virtue. In other words, the arahats, sila, arahats, moral virtue, accomplished in the non-learner's concentration. In other words, mental training, meditation, accomplished in the non-learner's wisdom, right? So in other words, the mind is free from views. In short, only the arahats are free from the influence and power of Mara. Accomplishing these three things, bhikshus among transcends Mara's realm, shining radiantly like the sun. Right? So you have the sun that brightens up half the world, so to speak, and warms the whole world. So there you are. Only when you have broken all the 10 fetters, when you have attained the state of Arahant, Mara does not have any power over you. Of course, Mara can still try to annoy this Arahat, but he knows who Mara is. So we have stories of Mara still trying to follow the Buddha and trying to distract him, but he's not able to do so. Of course, there we come to another very interesting problem. I mean, if the Buddha and the Arahats are totally awakened, how is it that Mara still come to them? Well, the Arahats and the Buddha are still in this world. So in other words, they do have thought processes. So as long as you have the thought processes, Mara has a chance of somehow coming into your life. But Mara doesn't affect the Arahat or the Buddha. It's just like, let's say, we have this shopping center and there are lots of goods being displayed. But there are also guards, lots of guards, and they're very good guards and very good surveillance system and so on. So shoplifters, would-be robbers may come, but they are not able to steal anything because they're being monitored all the time. And there are very vigilant guards, and very good sales people there. So in a sense, the Buddha's mind, the Arahat's mind is like that. The minds are pure and clear, fully awakened, and Mara has no power over it, even though Mara may try to annoy, try to say things which to confuse the Arahats, but they are not confused at all. It's just like you are a mature adult, you're very wise, you've studied child psychology, and here comes a little child crying or trying to annoy you. You know very well how to treat this child, in other words. So in a sense, Mara is like a child. He's not awakened. He's not a permanent being either. In terms of evolution, you can say, if you take Buddha as the most highly evolved being during an epoch, Mara is the most highly evolved being in the negative sense, in the bad or evil sense, if you like. So it's got all these negative energies and power, whereas the Buddha has got all this wonderful, positive, liberating energy. So you have two extremes, in a manner of speaking. So that's a kind of quick summary on the psychology of Mara. Then the sutta closes, section 4. The Blessed One spoke on this matter. In this connection, he said thus: Silang samadhi panya cha yassa ete subhavita attikamma maradeyang adicchova virochati iti. Moral virtue, concentration and wisdom. The one whom these have been well cultivated transcends Mara's realm, shining radiantly like the sun. So there we have a verse summary of the prose teaching. This matter too was spoken by the Blessed One, thus have I heard. So the sutta ends here. Let us do a short reflection to finish this session. Our mind is the vital tool for awakening. For this mind to fully function, we need also a healthy body. A healthy body means keeping to the precepts, respecting the body, respecting your body, respecting the body of others, of all beings. So when we keep the precepts well, we respect the body too, keeping it healthy, practicing restraint and so on. The mind should also be cultivated to be calm and clear. Then you have a healthy mind and a healthy body. Then you are best equipped to reflect on the nature of impermanence. And reflecting in that way, you cultivate liberating wisdom. Reflecting in this way is wonderful good karma. But above this karma, may we be able to cultivate very, very great loving kindness, so that we are joyful and healthy and courageous to aspire to at least attain stream winning in this life itself. By the same token, by the power of the three jewels and all the good we have done, let us send out our loving kindness to those who have been kind to us and helpful to us, to our loved ones, and to those who are practicing the Dharma. May they be well, may they be happy, may they see the true teaching, may they attain awakening in this life itself. And finally, by the power of the three jewels, may those who are confused, who have difficulty knowing the Dharma, who are lost, may they too find the right way and come to the true teaching in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.